Hello, and welcome to part 2 of your data validation tools. Today we will review how to set up a drop-down list and how to establish character limits in your cells. Data validation tools are designed to limit the type of information that can be entered into the cell. Forcing character limits will ensure that the user does not enter too little or too much information, while a drop-down list will force a selection. I am sure that you will find each of these features beneficial to add to your toolbox. So let's go ahead and take a look at our lesson. Okay, so let's begin by locating our tools. Let's go to the Data tab. Let's go to the Data Tools group. And let's go ahead and get the drop down. Today we will be working with the data validation tool to set up our drop down list and to establish character limits. Setting character limits is easy in Excel. Let's begin by selecting cell B3. Let's go to the Data tab, the Data Tools group, and let's go ahead and get our drop down. Let's select Data Validation. Let's go ahead and select Text Length. And I want to leave the data that says between check. For my minimum, I want to say 10. And for my max, I'm going to say 25. We'll keep it small for demonstration purposes. Now let's go ahead to our error alert. And here I want to type a message that says, let's say character limit 10 to 25. So anytime that the validation is not met, the user will get a pop-up with this message. So let's go ahead and say OK. Now let's go ahead and do a quick test. I'm just going to go ahead and type set up character limits because I know that this will meet my criteria. Okay, so as you can see, we did not get a pop-up. But if I type the word today with it, then I am prompted that my character has exceeded my limits. So let's go ahead and cancel this. Now remember, I set it up between 10 and 25. Let's go ahead and just back out character limits and just leave setup. And let's see if we get the pop-up because we have not met the minimum requirement. Okay, so as you can see, I do get a pop-up. And it is just that easy to set up your character limits. And again, this will prevent the user from inputting too little or too much information. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and set up a drop-down list. So I have already typed a list of names, and I'm going to use this information to establish my drop-down list. Let's go ahead and place our mouse inside of cell C3. Let's go ahead to Data. Let's go to our Data Tools. Let's get our drop-down list, and let's go ahead and say Data Validation. Let's make sure we are on the Settings tab. Now let's go ahead and get the drop down and select list. Now we need to find our source. Let's get the arrow and let's go ahead and drag this information. So we're telling Excel that this will be the information that we will be using for our list. So let's go ahead and say OK. So now you can see our list range from cells G3 to G7. So let's go ahead and say OK. Now let's go ahead and get the drop down list. As you can see, it has the information that we have established in our list. Now I want to go ahead and say right click copy and why not go ahead and drag this all the way down. Okay, and so now you can see that our list is available in each one of our cells. So what if we want to update our list? You will do that by updating the source. So let's take the name Tony and change it into Tommy. Okay, and then go ahead and say enter. Now let's get our drop down and see if that information has changed inside of cell C3. And as you can see, it says Tommy. Let's check the information inside of cell C7. And as you can see, the information says Tommy. So again, the drop down list is based on the data source. So whatever information you change in the data source, that is what will be reflected in your list. So what if I wanted to add a few more names? Let's go ahead and say Richard. And let's say Tammy. And let's just go ahead and say Greg. Okay. Now let's see if that information is there. And it is not. And that is because this information is not part of our data source. But we can add this by selecting cell C3 or any one of your data lists. But let's just say C3. Let's go up to our drop-down list. Let's say data validation. And let's go ahead and extend our source to cell C10. And then let's go ahead and say apply these changes to all other cells with the same settings. Let's go ahead and say OK. Now let's take a look and see if we have Richard, Tammy, and Greg. And as you can see, we have Bob, Jane, Tommy, Rick, James, and we also have Richard, Tammy, and Greg. Now let's confirm that that information is inside the remaining of our cells. Let's grab C6. And as you can see, again, that information is available. Let's grab C7. And again, the information is available inside of C7. Okay. Okay, and so with that being said, I hope you found this information helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Congratulations on completing another video and on your commitment to learning this program. I hope that you are getting the most out of our level up lessons, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next video.